In a world where everyone's trying to look strong, very few ever become strong. Not physically, mentally. And that's the difference between those who survive and those who lead. Life will test you. It will shake your beliefs, break your routines, and expose your weaknesses. But what if you could train your mind to be unshakable before the storm hits? What if, instead of reacting, you rewired? Instead of collapsing, you adapted? In this video, you won't just learn how to be mentally strong, you'll learn how to forge a mind so sharp, so calm, and so disciplined that even chaos will respect your silence. Let's begin. 1. Break your own mind before life does. Buddhism teaches us a deep and powerful truth. Suffering is born from attachment, especially the attachment to things we believe will stay the same forever. We hold on to ideas, routines, identities, and expectations, believing they are permanent. But life is constantly changing. Nothing lasts. Not our feelings, not our beliefs, not even our sense of self. If we ignore this truth and cling to our comfortable illusions, life will eventually break us to show us reality. That's why it's better to break your own mind before life does it for you. What does that mean in practical terms? It means you must learn to question yourself regularly. Ask, what beliefs am I holding on to that no longer serve me? What fears am I avoiding? What parts of my identity are keeping me stuck? Be willing to let go of the version of yourself that you've outgrown. Let go of pride. Let go of certainty. Destroy the ego that says, I already know. Because when you face your own illusions, gently, honestly, and consistently, you build true mental strength. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about peeling away what's false so you can live from a place of truth. Confront your blind spots. Challenge your assumptions. Interrupt your patterns. Yes, it will be uncomfortable, but that discomfort is growth. That's where awakening begins. Life has a way of forcing you to evolve if you don't do it willingly. So take the lead. Tear down the walls in your mind now. While you have the chance to rebuild with clarity and wisdom, that is the path to true inner freedom. Most people live as prisoners of their emotions. The moment something triggers them, an insult, a delay, a disappointment, they react without pause. But reacting impulsively to everything that happens around you is a sign of mental weakness. True mental strength comes from learning how to pause, observe, and respond, not react. Buddhism teaches that our suffering often comes not from events themselves, but from our untrained responses to those events. In other words, it's not what happens to you. It's how you respond that determines your peace. To starve your reactions means to stop feeding your impulses with energy and attention. It means you no longer allow every thought or emotion to dictate your behavior. You take a breath before replying to a rude comment. You observe your anger without unleashing it. You feel the fear rise, but you don't let it paralyze you. You sit with the discomfort instead of running from it. Every time you resist the urge to react, you weaken its power. Like a fire without fuel, the emotion dies down. In Buddhist practice, this is known as mindfulness, learning to watch your mind like a detached observer. Instead of being swept away by the storm of emotion, you become the calm center of the storm. You realize that feelings come and go like clouds passing through the sky. They are temporary and not who you are. When you stop reacting to every thought or emotion, you begin to take back control of your inner world. This habit doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or pretend to be okay when you're not. It means you create a space between stimulus and response, a sacred pause. In that space, you choose your response based on clarity, not chaos. Over time, this practice rewires your brain. You begin to respond with wisdom instead of emotion, with calm instead of confusion. And that is where true power lives. Not in reacting louder, but in remaining silent and grounded when others lose control. To be mentally strong, learn to sit with your emotions without becoming them. Don't feed your triggers. Don't fuel the drama. Starve your reactions, and you will feed your inner peace. 3. Kill the victim in you every morning. Every single day you wake up with a choice to see yourself as a victim of your circumstances or as the creator of your life. The victim mindset whispers, "It's not your fault, you can't do anything about it, or life is unfair." And while those words might feel comforting for a moment, they are dangerous, because the longer you believe them, the more powerless you become. Buddhism teaches that liberation begins with responsibility, taking full ownership of your thoughts, emotions, and actions, regardless of what the world throws at you. To kill the victim in you every morning means to start your day by refusing to identify with weakness, blame, or self-pity. It means recognizing that while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you are always responsible for how you respond. This is not about denying pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about refusing to let that pain define you. The victim mentality is subtle. It hides behind complaints, excuses, procrastination, and emotional dependence. You say, "I can't focus because people keep distracting me." You say, "I can't grow because no one supports me." You say, "I'm stuck because life is unfair." But every time you say that, you give your power away. The Buddha taught that suffering is a part of life, but clinging to suffering is optional. The way out is through awareness, courage, and conscious action. Each morning, before you check your phone or dive into the chaos of the day, take a moment to center yourself. Remind yourself, "I am not a victim. I am not my past. I am not my excuses." Breathe in responsibility. Breathe out blame. Stand tall in your ability to respond with strength, no matter how difficult your circumstances are. Mentally strong people don't wait for someone to save them. They rise. They confront their story. They rewrite it. They know that nobody is coming, and that's exactly why they must lead themselves. So kill the victim in your mind before it begins to speak. Replace it with a warrior, a presence that acts, chooses, and takes full responsibility for its path. In today's world, boredom is treated like a disease. The moment we feel even a second of stillness or silence, we reach for our phones, open a tab, scroll endlessly, or distract ourselves with noise. But what if boredom wasn't your enemy? What if boredom was your training ground? Buddhism teaches that peace, wisdom, and true self-understanding arise not in moments of excitement, but in moments of silence. It's in stillness that the mind reveals its truth. To train your mind to love boredom means to sit with yourself without needing constant stimulation. It means practicing presence in the simplest, most ordinary moments of life, waiting in line, sitting alone in a room, walking without headphones. Why? Because when you remove all external stimulation, your mind starts to surface its deeper patterns. You begin to notice your cravings, your restlessness, your thoughts, and your emotional attachments, and with that awareness comes the power to change. In Buddhist meditation, boredom is not seen as a problem. It is a doorway. When the mind says, "This is boring," it's not because the moment lacks meaning. It's because the ego is uncomfortable without distraction. The ego wants to be entertained, stimulated, validated. But your higher self, the calm, observing consciousness, knows that the ability to sit in boredom without resistance is the foundation of mental mastery. Think about it. If you can't sit still for 5 minutes without reaching for a screen, how will you handle real adversity? If you can't be alone with your thoughts, how will you hear your intuition? If your mind always runs from boredom, it will also run from discomfort, growth, and discipline. The mentally strong person rewires their relationship with boredom. They embrace it. They use it as a form of meditation, of mental detox. In boredom, they build patience. In silence, they meet themselves. They learn that not every moment needs to be filled, and that often the most powerful insights arise in the empty spaces. Start small. Sit in silence for 10 minutes a day. Go for a walk without music. Eat a meal without a screen. Notice how uncomfortable your mind becomes and stay with it. Smile at the stillness. Welcome the boredom, because every time you sit through it, you're breaking the addiction to distraction. You're becoming less reactive, more present, and infinitely stronger inside. To love boredom is to befriend your mind, and once you learn to be still, there is nothing the world can throw at you that you cannot handle with calm and clarity. 5. Become the observer, not the victim. One of the greatest teachings in Buddhism, and one of the most liberating realizations you can ever have, is this: you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not your mind. You are the one who observes it all. Most people go through life completely identified with the voice in their head. They believe every thought, get swept away by every emotion, and let their inner chatter shape their sense of self. But the truth is, you are not the storm. You are the sky. The storm is just passing through. To become the observer means to step back from the constant noise of your mind and simply watch, not to judge, not to react, just to witness. This is the foundation of mindfulness practice in Buddhism. When you meditate, you begin to notice how thoughts come and go, just like clouds moving across the sky. Some are light and harmless, others are heavy and dark, but none of them are you. They are temporary, you are not. Now ask yourself honestly, how often do you react out of pure emotion without thinking? How often do you take your thoughts at face value without questioning them? A small inconvenience happens, and suddenly you're angry. Someone criticizes you, and you spiral into self-doubt. You don't get what you expected, and you fall into disappointment or blame. In all these situations, the same pattern is playing out. You are identifying with the mind, and you are choosing to play the role of the victim. The victim mindset says, "Why is this happening to me?" The observer mindset says, "Interesting. Look at how my mind is reacting to this." That small shift changes everything, because once you become the observer, you take back your power. You stop being controlled by every emotional wave. You stop living like a puppet whose strings are pulled by circumstance. You start living with awareness. Buddhist monk Ajahn Chah once said, "You see, the glass is already broken. Because I know this, I can enjoy it fully now. And when it is gone, it is gone." This is the essence of observing life. Understanding that everything is temporary. Emotions, possessions, relationships, achievements, even your body. When you live from this place of awareness, you become grounded. You stop clinging to things that pass. And when life shakes you, you are not destroyed. You remain centered. Becoming the observer also means detaching from your inner critic. That voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, not ready, not worthy. It's not the truth. It's just a habit of thought, formed over years. You don't have to argue with it. You don't have to believe it. You just have to watch it like watching a bird fly by. The more you observe it without reacting, the weaker it becomes. And one day, it stops showing up at all. This practice is not about denial. It's not about pretending your emotions don't exist or suppressing your pain. In fact, it's the opposite. You feel everything, but you don't drown in it. You sit with your fear. You breathe through your sadness. You acknowledge your anger, but you no longer become those emotions. You witness them as part of your human experience, and you let them go when they've run their course. When you live as the observer, something amazing happens. Your mind becomes your tool, not your master. You choose your responses. You protect your peace. You don't need to prove yourself because you are no longer caught in the illusion of the ego. You don't need constant validation because your self-worth comes from awareness, not opinion. You don't crumble under stress because you no longer take life so personally. So how do you begin? You start by noticing. Throughout your day, take moments to pause. Ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? What emotion am I feeling? What triggered it? Don't try to change it. Just observe it. Watch your mind like you would watch a movie. With time, you'll begin to see the patterns. You'll notice how your thoughts pull you into the past or project fear into the future. You'll see how your mind loves to create stories, and how most of those stories aren't even true. Then, take a deep breath and return to the present. This moment is the only reality. Everything else is a thought. As you practice this more and more, you'll develop an unshakable calm. You'll be able to sit in chaos without losing your clarity. You'll be able to feel emotion without being dominated by it. And you'll realize the most important truth of all. Your awareness is stronger than anything your mind can create. To become mentally strong, you must stop identifying with every fear, every doubt, every passing feeling. You must sit above the storm, not inside it. You must become the watcher of your mind, not the victim of it. This is the essence of true power. Still, present, untouchable. 6. Respect your own boundaries like a king. One of the most overlooked signs of true mental strength is the ability to honor and protect your own boundaries. In a world where people-pleasing is praised and self-sacrifice is often mistaken for love, many individuals constantly betray themselves just to be accepted, liked, or approved. But make no mistake. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you weaken your sense of self. Every time you allow someone to disrespect your space, your time, or your energy, you train your mind to believe that your peace doesn't matter. To respect your own boundaries like a king means to draw clear, unshakable lines in your life that protect your inner world. These lines are not built from ego or arrogance. They are built from self-respect. A king doesn't apologize for protecting his kingdom. He doesn't seek approval for guarding his gates, and neither should you. Buddhism teaches the importance of right action, acting in ways that are rooted in integrity, mindfulness, and compassion. But compassion doesn't mean allowing others to drain you. Compassion doesn't mean carrying emotional weight that was never yours to bear. True compassion must begin with yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot bring peace to others while allowing your own mind to be in constant turmoil. Many people struggle with boundaries because they confuse them with rejection. They believe that setting boundaries will hurt others, make them feel guilty, or make them seem selfish. But here's the truth. Healthy boundaries do not push people away. They simply show people where you end and where they begin. They create space for honest connection. They teach others how to treat you. They protect your energy so you can give from a full heart, not from obligation. Ask yourself, how often do you allow others to cross your emotional lines just to avoid confrontation? How often do you say yes to things that drain you because you're afraid of being disliked? How many times have you silenced your truth just to maintain peace on the outside while feeling completely broken on the inside? These small betrayals add up. Over time, they erode your confidence, your clarity, and your self-worth. You begin to resent others, not because they're bad people, but because you never taught them how to respect you. And why didn't you teach them? Because you didn't respect yourself first. When you start respecting your boundaries like a king, everything changes. You stop explaining your number. You stop over-justifying your decisions. You start walking away from people, habits, and situations that no longer serve your highest self. And you do it with peace, not with anger, because you're no longer trying to be everything to everyone. You're trying to be everything to yourself first. Buddhism also teaches non-attachment, not just to material things, but to identity. You don't have to be the nice one. You don't have to be the always available one. You don't have to keep playing the role that others have put you in. You can let that identity go and choose a new one. One that serves your growth, your truth, and your peace. This doesn't mean you become cold, distant, or selfish. It means you learn to give from a place of fullness. When your energy is protected, your heart opens wider. When your time is respected, your presence becomes more powerful. When your mind is clear, your love becomes more conscious. Setting boundaries may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to it. You may feel guilt. Others may resist. But remember, anyone who is truly meant to be in your life will respect your truth, not just your convenience. And anyone who leaves because you've chosen self-respect over self-abandonment is doing you a favor. So how do you begin this process? Start by identifying where in your life you feel resentment, exhaustion, or emotional tension. These are signs that a boundary is needed. Next, clearly define your limits. How much time, energy, or emotional investment you're willing to give. Communicate your boundaries firmly but kindly. You don't need to defend them, you just need to live them. Then comes the hardest part, enforcing them. You must be willing to disappoint others in order to be true to yourself. That's not cruelty, it's maturity. That's not selfishness, it's self-preservation. When you show up for yourself consistently, you teach the world that you are not to be taken for granted. A king does not chase validation. A king does not beg to be heard. A king sits calmly on his throne, centered in his truth, grounded in his presence. Be that king for yourself. Build walls that protect, not isolate. Draw lines that empower, not divide. Respect your own boundaries like your life depends on it, because your peace absolutely does. 7. Practice emotional fasting. In the modern world, we are constantly consuming not just food, but emotions. We consume anger from social media, fear from the news, drama from relationships, and stress from overstimulation. Just like overeating leads to physical illness, emotional overconsumption leads to mental and spiritual exhaustion. You become reactive, anxious, drained, and disconnected from your own center. That's why emotional fasting is not just a practice, it's a necessity. Emotional fasting means taking conscious breaks from absorbing and reacting to every emotion that arises within or around you. It means refusing to feed every mood, every trigger, every craving for validation, every impulse to argue, complain, or control. Just like physical fasting cleanses the body, emotional fasting clears the mind and purifies the heart. In Buddhism, this aligns perfectly with the practice of mindfulness and non-attachment. The Buddha taught that our suffering is often not caused by the emotion itself, but by our attachment to it, our need to hold on to it, justify it, or express it at all costs. Emotional fasting doesn't mean repressing or ignoring your emotions. It means becoming aware of them and choosing not to feed them with reaction. Think about your typical day. How many emotions do you take in from others? How often do you hold on to resentment that isn't even yours? How many times do you feel anger, sadness, or anxiety and react right away without stopping to ask where it came from or if it really needs your attention? Emotional fasting is about choosing to respond instead of react. It's about protecting your emotional space. You stop being open to unnecessary drama. You stop wasting your energy on people who push your buttons just to get a reaction. You stop joining arguments just to prove you're right. You stop feeling the need to fix everything and everyone. You start to understand that peace doesn't come from trying to control the world. It comes from learning how to manage your own reactions. Start with small steps. Begin your morning with purpose. Today, I won't feed my anger. Today, I will notice my emotions without becoming them. When something upsets you, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, does this emotion need to grow, or can I just feel it and let it go? You'll be surprised by how much strength you gain just by pausing. Another way to fast emotionally is to disconnect from emotional noise. Take a break from the media, from harmful conversations, from places that constantly stir up negativity. Make quiet moments in your day, times when you return to yourself. Reconnect with your breath and check in with how you really feel beneath all the noise. This isn't avoiding, it's emotional hygiene. Just like you wash your body, you also need to clear your emotional space. Emotional fasting also means not feeding off others emotionally. Many people, without realizing it, use relationships to unload emotions they haven't dealt with. They lash out, complain, blame, or look for comfort. Not to heal, but to avoid facing their inner work. When you practice emotional fasting, you stop relying on others to manage your feelings. You take full ownership of your inner state. You learn to stay with discomfort instead of passing it on. This doesn't mean you become cold or distant. Actually, it's the opposite. Emotional fasting makes room for deeper, more mindful connection. When you're not led by emotional reactions, you show up with clarity, presence, and kindness. You listen more, talk less, and don't take things so personally. You realize everyone is dealing with something, and not everything needs a response. Buddhism teaches the value of equanimity, a steady, peaceful mind that doesn't rise or fall with every emotional wave. Emotional fasting is a powerful way to build equanimity. It shows you that emotions are like the weather. They come and go. Some days are stormy, others are clear and bright. But you are the sky, always present, always observing, unchanged at your core. There is deep wisdom in holding back. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you need to act on it. Just because someone offends you doesn't mean you have to react. Just because the world is noisy doesn't mean you have to raise your voice too. True strength doesn't come from reacting. It comes from the stillness between the trigger and your response. So give yourself a day, an hour, or even just a few minutes to emotionally fast. No reacting, no explaining, no defending, just watching, just breathing, just being. Over time, you'll notice your emotional strength growing. You'll be less shaken by chaos, more grounded in calm, and more in touch with your higher self. Emotional fasting isn't about ignoring emotions. It's about becoming emotionally free. It's about choosing which feelings deserve your attention and which ones can drift by like passing clouds. It's about clearing the noise so you can hear the voice of your soul. Practice emotional fasting, and you'll see that your true power isn't in how strongly you feel, but in how peacefully you choose. Mental strength isn't about being hard on the outside. It's about being steady on the inside. True strength isn't built through ego, anger, or pretending to have it all figured out. It's built quietly, in the unseen moments, when you choose calm over reaction, discipline over ease, and truth over illusion. Each of these practices, challenging your own thoughts, holding back reactions, letting go of the victim mindset, sitting with boredom, becoming the observer, honoring your limits, and stepping away from emotional chaos, is a step back to your inner strength. Not the kind of strength that controls others, but the kind that gives you full control over yourself. Buddhism teaches us that the mind is everything. What you think, you become. What you practice each day, the small, steady acts of awareness, discipline, and self-respect, shapes your entire future. You don't become mentally strong in a single moment. You grow stronger each time you choose growth over comfort, stillness over noise, awareness over reaction. Keep choosing, keep rising. And remember, your strength isn't in how loud you shout. Your strength is in how quietly you stay grounded while the storm swirls around you, and smile because you know it can no longer shake you.